Walk into any audit room, open a fieldwork file, and you are almost guaranteed to find a working paper that concludes with this exact phrase: balance is below performance materiality. No further work performed. For many junior auditors, PM has quietly morphed into an automatic do-nothing threshold. But if an account balance sits beneath that magic number, they believe they have carte blanche to scope it out, drop the testing, and move on. It is a common practice. It is also mathematically dangerous, fundamentally at odds with international standards on auditing, ISA 320. This practice exposes audit firms to unacceptable levels of undetected risk. I call this phenomenon siloed scoping, the dangerous practice of making macro-level risk decisions in micro-level working papers. To understand why siloed scoping is a ticking time bomb, we have to revisit the basic architecture of audit methodology. Overall, materiality is the maximum threshold of error the financial statements can carry before they mislead a user. Performance materiality is set beneath overall materiality, usually at 50% to 75%, specifically to act as a buffer. That buffer exists to absorb the aggregate of uncorrected misstatements and undetected errors hiding in unexamined populations. When an associate looks at a £90,000 expense account in a vacuum where PM is £100,000, scoping it out feels safe. But an audit is not a vacuum. If 5 different associates each scope out a £90,000 balance in their respective sections, the engagement now has £450,000 of entirely unexamined ledger. Suddenly, the aggregate untested bucket has blown past PM and is likely threatening overall materiality. The audit team has effectively lost control of its risk ceiling, all while individual preparers believe they followed the rules. Why did bottom-up scoping become the norm? The root cause is often a disconnect between the planning phase and the fieldwork phase. When planning is a compliance exercise rather than a roadmap, decisions about what to test trickle down to fieldwork teams. Associates are handed trial balance lines and told to audit them. Lacking a holistic view, they use PM as their individual cutoff switch. To protect audit quality, audit directors must pull scoping power out of the individual working papers and return it to the central planning desk. First, mandate top-down scoping via a master matrix. Scoping is a management-level responsibility. Engagements should utilize a central matrix that dictates the exact testing approach for every single account before fieldwork begins. No individual can choose to scope out an account. If they believe a balance is immaterial, they must request a methodology change. Second, establish a dedicated scoping threshold. Audit teams must decouple the concept of PM from the concept of a pass. Firms should establish a threshold for untested balances, often tied to the clearly trivial threshold or capped at 10 to 15% of PM only. Balances small enough that their aggregate cannot feasibly breach PM should ever be entirely scoped out of testing. Third, replace scope out with analytical review. A balance below PM usually does not require sampling, but it cannot be ignored. We need to banish the phrase "no further work performed." Instead, use substantive analytical procedures. A robust year-over-year variance analysis provides sufficient audit comfort for these balances without draining engagement hours. Reclaiming the buffer. An audit opinion relies on mathematical certainty and professional skepticism when we allow siloed scoping to persist. We surrender our safety net to the aggregate total of small, unexamined risks. Performance materiality is a ceiling for the whole engagement, not a target for individual working papers. By reclaiming centralized control, we protect our teams, our firms, and the integrity of the audit opinion itself.